Here we meet in a new video, so today let me tell you about what happened in the 2013 slasher called You're Next. Enjoy watching and who eats appetite. Before the main plot, we are shown a man who was making love to his young mistress in a house outside the city limits, but after he took a shower, the girl disappeared and he found a bloody sign on the glass saying that he was next, as well as the girl's body. After that, an unknown masked man immediately kills the man. The next day, husband and wife Paul and Aubrey Davidson drive past the house where the murder took place yesterday, just discussing the mansion of Eric Harson, who left his wife for a young student. At their new mansion, Paul immediately notices that the door to their house is open, and even though Aubrey hears footsteps and knocks upstairs, Paul, after coaxing him, decides to check the second floor and finds nothing but his son Crispian, who scares him and is the reason he forgets to check the last room, where someone seems to be hiding in the shadows. Along with Crispian came his girlfriend Erin, who was supporting his mother. And just before bedtime, a conversation between Crisp and Erin reveals that his brothers and sister are still coming tomorrow in honor of their parents' 35th anniversary of living together. In the middle of the night, Aubrey goes out for a drink of water, but doesn't notice that someone in an animal mask is already watching her. And in the morning, Drake and his girlfriend Kelly arrive, and a little later, Aubrey sends Erin to their neighbor Eric's house for milk. But along the way, the girl takes pictures of the men in her family, and when she leaves, Crispian tells his father that he ended up not getting his grant. At the same time, Drake comes to Kelly and she calls Erin too stupid for their family, and she at this time goes to her neighbor's house, but he, due to his death, does not open the door for the girl and she leaves. And it is after sunset when Amy's daughter and her boyfriend Tarek arrive, as well as Felix and his girlfriend Z. In the evening at dinner, an argument breaks out in the family because Drake thinks that the relationship with his former student that Crispian has arranged is not professional, and during such an argument, Tarek notices something in the window, approaches him, after which an arrow from a crossbow stabs him in the head and kills him. Everyone panics except Erin, who shows equanimity. Under her guidance, the family manages to move from the dining room to the hallway with the backs of chairs, though Drake is shot in the shoulder blade but survives. It turns out that emergency services can't be called because the assailant has a cell phone jammered. In the hallway, arguments break out again, but eventually they decide who can try to run out of the house and get to the car. And that's what Amy decides to do, but when she runs out, it turns out that there is a thin wire strung in the doorway outside that cuts her throat, and Amy dies. Leaving the Davisons in the hallway, Erin is calm again and surveys the second floor to close all the windows and doors, and at the same time decides to try to send a text message to the emergency services. Back at the Davidsons' house, Erin orders the bodies covered and the windows and doors barricaded. But before doing so, Paul takes Aubrey into the bedroom to calm her down, and the family begins to barricade themselves. But an assassin crawls out from under Aubrey's bed and decides to finish Aubrey off. And when the family arrives at her screams, they find only her body and the writing on the wall, "You're next." While Erin is attacked by one of the assassins and she nails his hand to the window, but in search of a new weapon, he has already disappeared. When they leave, Kelly lingers to examine the room and discovers that the marauder has been hiding under the bed there all along. She flees the house in terror, and Drake, who is chasing her, catches an arrow on a fishing line and decides to pull the arrow out, after which he passes out, and Kelly runs into the house where the man and his mistress were killed, and there Kelly dies, and we finally get a clearer look at the murderer. Meanwhile, Crispian, after biding his time, leaves the house and discovers that the engines in their cars are broken, so he returns and tells his family, after which he decides to go after Kelly in hopes of finding help. Erin thinks one of the killers is still here, so she offers to drag Drake somewhere else. That's when Kelly's corpse flies in through the dining room window, followed by one of the marauders. Erin, who is in the dining room at this point, armed with kitchen utensils, kills him by smashing his head in with a meat hammer and asks Felix and Z why they didn't help her, but they thought she could handle herself, and also in identifying him, they saw him for the first time. Felix then goes upstairs to get his father, and Erin goes to the basement to turn on the lights in the house, which have recently been turned off. At this time, Paul, who is exploring the top floor, goes into one of the wall closets and realizes that one of the looters was hiding in the house before they got here and was following them afterwards. He turns on the lights as the panel is on the second floor and tries to let Felix and Z know his hunch, but suddenly the marauder appears and kills him. Felix and Z look on more than indifferently, whereupon Felix tells the marauder that he didn't have to do it in front of him at all. On the first floor, one of the marauders finds his partner's body and becomes enraged, but when he hears rustling from the basement, he begins to break down the door to Aaron with an axe. But immediately Brian wakes up and distracts the killer as Aaron immediately runs out and injures him, which makes him hide in the night. Felix and Z come down from the second floor and tell them that they didn't find anything except their father, who needed to lie down. If anything, they didn't say he was dead. Aaron then tells them that she counted at least 3 killers and asked them to go down to the basement for tools. Felix stepped back with Drake, and Aaron asked Z for help to hammer nails into the boards and put them under the windows. A surprised Z asked the girl how she could behave so coolly in such a situation, and Aaron confessed that she grew up, as she says, in the extreme camp. Shortly after she was born, Aaron's father became paranoid and decided that in a few years mankind would die, having used up its life resources. Finding like-minded people, he set up with them a kind of sectarian outdoor camp where Aaron lived until she was 15. Meanwhile, our good-natured Felix kills his own brother in the basement, rewarding him with several knives to the chest. Z also tried to kill Aaron, but she turned around in time. The girl went to the second floor and Z opened the door through which the killer came in and attacked Aaron, but she managed to jump out the window. After that, she rushed out and ran into a man in the woods whom she managed to wound, but he was not happy to meet her, so he fired several arrows at her and the girl returned to the house, then hid behind a curtain. The assassin sees their traps, but Aaron's double trap works and Felix sends another assassin to see what the screams are coming from the first floor, while he refuses to make love to Z and the disgruntled woman decides to try on his mother's ring. The murderer threatens Felix for the death of his brother, whom Aaron killed, and she in turn overhears the traitor talking about the sum of $500,000 for his share and his brother after they finally finish the job. Her partner tells her they're almost done, but then she hears a text message on Aaron's phone telling her that the 911 call has been answered. Aaron punches the killer in the Adam's apple and escapes, but as everyone is heading after her, the very last and limping one notices an open window, which he checks and gets hit in the forehead with a screwdriver. Aaron then takes the tools in the basement and sets a trap over the door, while Felix and the mercenary decide to split up outside. Felix takes a crossbow and heads along the road to find Aaron, while the assassin is about to enter the house, but he sneaks in through the window. Then Aaron rushes down into the basement and leads him after him, breaking light bulbs to slow him down. But when he gets down to the bottom, he is photographed by a flash camera, which distracts him so that Aaron finally strikes and kills the intruder. As she makes her way up to the first floor, Felix shoots at her through the window, but misses and sends Z to look for her. But Aaron finds herself back in the Winners and grabs Z in the kitchen. When Felix comes running to her, Aaron douses him with liquid, but he calls it dumb because it turned out to be cold, after which he falls down himself. But even after stabbing her in the back, she manages to smash a blender over his head and put it on top of his head to plug him in and his sinister girlfriend to finish him off with a knife to the skull. But no sooner does she relax than a call comes in on Felix's phone from her boyfriend Crispian, who apologizes for not being able to help him because he is a pacifist. But Aaron doesn't say a word, so Crispian climbs in through the window. He meets Aaron, who confesses that she has killed all his partners, and he, in his turn, says that the plan was for Aaron to survive so they at last start to live normally, promising to give her $500,000 for her labor, or she will tell everything and he will go to jail. But the girl does not forgive him and kills him, and after that a policeman shoots her, mistaking her for the killer. After he calls an ambulance, the girl wakes up and he walks through the front door and stumbles into that very trap.